okay, son, what'd you see? And you go, nothing.
I don't want to get a whooping. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. He might
Could've
kill
been.
me too. Nothing.
Could have been that, although it's if Marty Smart was as abusive as some people say he was towards Marilyn and possibly the kids also, wouldn't that be a grand opportunity to say, yeah, it was my stepdad murdering those people, and so he gets carted off to prison, and your mom can go find a better stepdad.
Yeah, but I guess there's that fear. There's the irrational fear.
Oh yeah.
At 12,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
among us as adults, that's a very easy, logical thing to say. Hey, I can get rid of this jerk.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, you don't know because you just don't have the life experience, and your emotions are all erratic and weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's an easy way to think, but
Yeah.
that's not the way that the kids at that age think.
Probably not, but I have no idea if Justin witnessed anything or not. I don't think he did.
I don't. Yeah,
I kind of doubt it, but yeah, we've talked about it. Marty, of course, was a suspect. Again, he lived 2 doors down. History of violence. He was known to not like Sue because he believed that Sue was trying to persuade Marilyn to leave him.
She probably was because she was a good friend.
Yeah.
And he was a bit of a jerk.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he at one point in his sessions with a psychotherapist did talk about this quote unquote bitch who was trying to turn his wife against him, and undoubtedly that was probably Sue. He had a motive.
Yeah.
Not really much of a motive. I don't think that's enough of a motive for any rational person to murder 4 people.
Yeah, but he may not have been rational.
Motive doesn't have to be rational.
Yeah. So he was questioned and everything, and he took a polygraph test, which he passed. But then a month after the murders, this didn't come to light until years later. Yeah, for a reason. But the month after the murders, he talked to his therapist again at the VA, and he said that he had killed Sue Sharp. And he said he did it because Sue was trying to talk Marilyn into believing him.
Wait, when did he talk to the therapist?
That would have been in 1981.
Oh, I thought it was later on than that.
No, it was in 1981.
Okay.
And then, unless of course the source where I got this is again confused about the timelines. There are so many timelines out there, and so many different statements by various people. The therapist, of course, couldn't reveal this. They can't. But after Marty died, he died in the year 2000. The therapist apparently waited 10 years. Maybe that's
well, no. I think the therapist did contact the police.
The therapist.
And because they're required by law to give that information.
Mm-hmm.
Client confidentiality only goes so far.
Doesn't cover murder.
Yeah, it doesn't cover murder, but the cops got the information and then did nothing with it.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of incompetence there, or otherwise, who knows. Apparently the therapist contacted them again some years later after Marty died and brought the issue up again, and they reopened the investigation, or at least took a look at it. But again, it's a cold case by this time. It's 2010, I think, when he took it up with them again.
Well, and he was already dead at that point.
Yeah, he was dead 10 years. And interestingly, though, Marty said nothing about the other murders. He didn't say anything about those. He just said he killed Sue. Yeah, interesting.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very. That doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't, because what that would mean is he goes over there and he kills Sue, and then leaves her corpse on the couch with a blanket over it, and then maybe the other two the 2 boys come home with the psycho killer who's giving them a ride, and then the psycho killer murders them.
This is the weirdest bad luck scenario.
Wouldn't that be an amazing coincidence?
Alternately. She doesn't seem the type, but she, for whatever reason, kills the boys, and then
bludgeons herself to death.
Then Marty comes over for whatever reason, and because he's riled up or whatever.
Well, he was drunk that night.
Right, so it explains her blood on her feet, right? And then he sees what happened and was already angry at her and kills her in a similar manner and ties her up and leaves her on the couch, and I don't know what happens to Tina. She runs away.
That makes even less sense.
I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tina runs away.
No, I mean, it's a theory, but...
Yeah, she's hitchhiking on Highway 70, and she gets picked up by Mr. Psycho Killer. There you go.
No?
No.
Wow.
What about the friend?
The friend, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about her friend.
No,
his friend.
Or his friend, I mean, yeah, Marty's friend that he brought back from the psycho ward. This guy's full name was Severin John Balbaday.
Didn't we have somebody who was named Severin in a case before? Wasn't it in the Toynbee tiles?
Yeah.
Sevi?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That name really sounds familiar.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Can't believe
Is that the first time you'd ever heard Severin?
In Toynbee?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I had a friend growing up named Severin, so
Oh, really?
it's a ubiquitous name for me. Sorry.
No, I was like, wow.
I thought that was
name.
a Vulcan name. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Leonard Nimoy.
No. Balbaday went by the nickname of Bo.
I would too.
All right, I said Balbaday. No, it's Balbaday.
Balbaday.
So I'm still trying to learn how to pronounce that name, Balbaday. But Bo was staying with the Smarts. He came back from Reno, VA, and stayed with the Smarts, sleeping on their couch. Reportedly, he liked to get up at night and wander around outside. It's a little hinky, but maybe he had insomnia.
Well,
Yeah, he was also in psychiatric therapy, just like Marty was. Met Sue Sharp on April 8th, 3 days before the murders. And reportedly the next day said he'd like to get to know her better.
boo.
Yeah, I know.
She was a pretty lady.
Yeah.
And she was probably nice to him.
Yeah, it could have been, and then probably the dating prospects in that town were not that huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the night of April 11th, Marty, Bo, and Marilyn got dressed up, and they put on suits and all kinds of nice clothes and stuff, and they went to the backdoor bar in Ketty.
Which was, they walked to.
Yeah, they walked to.
It's that close. They walked to it.
It's a tiny little town.
Yeah.
And reportedly they left about 9:30, and they stopped, according to some accounts, they stopped by Sue Sharp's house to ask if she wanted to tag along, and she said she wasn't interested.
She said, "Are you? Look at how many kids I have here."
Yeah, and they were all
What?
like, "Oh, the kid just puts kids to bed, you know."
No.
It was the early 80s.
Yes, that's
And so she had 4 kids there and 2 more that were out hitchhiking or something, or still in Quincy at the time. So she just didn't want to go, and apparently she didn't drink anyway. So why'd you want to? But
Makes sense to turn down the offer.
yeah. So they hung out at the backdoor bar, and then about 12:30 or so, they changed the music in the bar. Yeah, they changed the type of music they were playing, and Bo got really angry about it.
It's because he liked country and they were playing rock and roll.
Uh-huh.
That's what gets me riled up every time.
Yeah, I'm ready
why?
to kill people over stuff like that. They went back to cabin 26, and Marilyn went to bed. And at this point, Marty wanted to go back to the bar, but Bo was still really furious about the music change. They even called the bar. Marty called the bar and complained about it to the bartender and all sorts of stuff.
Tells you the size of the town when you can call the bar and complain about the music.
Yeah, and Bo was like, Marty wants to go, but Bo is so mad he just has to calm down for a while. So, really? Yeah. Well, in
Some
that
people
case,
get like that.
yeah, but eventually they did go back to the bar and return at some unknown time because Marilyn was asleep. When she woke up, Marty was in bed with her and Bo was asleep on the couch. Who knows what they were up to or what when they came back.
Well, they did go to the bar. Evidently, they were there at last call.
Yeah, Marty was wearing a green suit for heading to the bar, but the next day the suit was gone, and Marilyn said she never saw it again, which is suspicious. But on the other hand, she moved out of that place on April 12th, so it could, I woke up the morning of April 12th. The green suit was not there.
Yeah.
I never saw it again.
Well, okay.
That doesn't necessarily indicate that Marty was a murderer and that she was afraid of getting murdered.
She just might have realized, I'm in a not good situation, and oh my God, my neighbor just got brutally murdered.
Yeah.
I should probably make a life change.
Yeah.
I know. Seriously. So, and I told you before you got, Justin arrived home from cabin 28 around 8:30 a.m. and told her that everybody was dead. At the same time that day, about that same time, a guy named Jim Meeks went over to Marty Smart's house and saw that he was burning yard debris in the yard and said that he believed he saw a pair of shoes in the middle of the pile of burning debris. So, yeah, I don't really know. I'm not sure about this because the thing about it is my understanding of it is when they went back to the house and before they returned to the bar, they changed their clothes. I mean, you read that in some accounts, right?
I think I have.
Yeah.
There's there were so many papers. The one website that I think all three of us drew on pretty heavily for like the reports and the papers, because it was a plethora of information. It was actually information overload.
Yeah,
so it's made it kind of hard to pull detail.
So some say they change their clothes. Of course, on the other hand, if you're all guessed, you'd have to wear your best clothes.
You're going to want to change.
Well, if to commit a murder, yeah.
No, I mean, if you came home. So this is what happens for me. I don't know about you guys, but you get all dressed up and you go out and you're like, yeah, this is fun. And you go home and you're like, oh, I wish I was wearing jeans right now.
Yeah, huh?
I'll put jeans and, a sweatshirt on. And, let's go back out to the bar. Yeah, okay, yeah, no problem.
That happens to me every time I wear my best dress.
Yeah.
I know.
I can see that.
You probably get dressed up because Marilyn was like, wouldn't it be fun if we all got dressed up? And
and this is not a place where guys typically wear a suit.
Yeah.
So
it seems unlikely that Marty and Bo would be like, what'd be really fun is if we put on our suits.
I know.
Yeah.
But
I could just see a guy in a collared shirt and a suit or in a tie for a couple of hours having a couple of drinks, and the first thing you want to do is get out of that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and actually probably Bo wanted to be all dressed up because he was probably hoping to find him a woman in the bar. And after spending a few hours in the bar, he realizes that his hopes of actually finding somebody in the bar were pretty much nil.
And he's super angry.
Yeah, he's super angry. So why keep wearing the suit, when there's no women in the bar anyway? So they probably changed.
Yeah, don't use up your good juju.
No, absolutely not. Supposedly, Marilyn told Jim Meeks later in that day, that's April 12th, that she had seen a bloody hammer in the basement of cabin 26.
Wasn't the hammer found at the scene?
Yeah, it was. It's clearly visible in one of the crime scene photographs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know.
This sounds like a disgruntled ex-wife.
Although I guess...
Well, I gotta tell you, I've never seen that many cabins in the woods that have basements, actually. So that kind of makes me wonder right there.
Yeah, well, I guess my argument pro her having seen that is I don't know that you would be able to tell if it was only one hammer.
It could have been more than one hammer, too.
If it were two guys.
Two guys, two hammers.
Two hammers.
Well, didn't Martin also tell the cops, oh, by the way, my hammer went missing?
Yeah.
He told them that.
He made a lot of interesting statements. There was one, they called in the Department of Justice, and the DOJ investigators had a little interview with him, and he made a couple of other sort of semi-incriminating statements.
Yeah, he said some weird stuff.
Yeah. Like in talking about his stepson possibly observing the crime, he said something in the order of, it's possible, and I just didn't notice him. Which is like, wow, really?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that they should have kind of maybe zeroed in on and kind of hammered away at, and they really, it was kind of a lackluster investigation.
Well, yeah, there were so many things that were botched. There was, there was Johnny, and then what was the other boy that was in
Dana?
the boys that were in the room that survived.
Oh, there was Justin, and also Ricky and Greg.
Yeah, and I can't remember which one of them was being interviewed by the Department of Justice, but you can hear, if you listen to the tape, it's the guy saying, the time and the date, his name, and interviewing subject so-and-so, and puts the mic over to the kid to get a mic test to make sure everything's working, and then the rest of the tape is blank.
Oh, really?
The thing just shut off, or just stopped recording, and they did the test to make sure it worked, but didn't have the aptitude to go, oh, that's funny, the little lights on it stopped moving. Oh, well, we'll keep going. I mean, this got botched.
Actually,
all over the
got
place.
botched. In fairness to them, we've actually committed the same mistake once.
Once. And nobody's life was at stake.
Yeah, I know.
In fairness, nobody's life was at stake in that either. The lives had been forfeit already.
That's a good point.
Well, Joe's life was kind of at stake because I was just so done with that story.
That was not a great.
Anyways,
back to this botched investigation.
The botched investigation. Well, just another word about the hammer. There might have been two hammers. He might have taken his bloody hammer home with him, but wouldn't he have washed it off?
But there was all of the tools. Okay, so it was a hammer
and a knife.
And a steak knife.
Yeah. And a butcher knife.
And a butcher knife.
Yeah.
And they had all been wiped down at the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
They weren't covered in gads of blood.
No.
Okay, well, if you took the time to wipe down the tools of the murder and leave them at the murder scene, why in the hell would you take a bloody one home?
Oh, hell no. And you want to, if you possibly can. You want to leave the murder weapon at the scene.
Yeah!
Of course you do. You know?
That whole
murder
scene
101.
That whole there was a bloody hammer in the basement thing. That doesn't jive with what was at the scene of the crime.
It's nonsense. And I don't know if Marilyn was lying. More likely Jim Meeks was lying. Or maybe somebody just made this stuff up and stuck it into the record at some point. Let's talk about theories for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh God, are we not there yet?
No. And there's a lot more. If you guys want to do more research, follow some of the links. There's a lot of stuff out there. Just to make this not a 5-hour episode, I've omitted lots of stuff, and also because some of it's conflicting and it's fragmentary. So and so, Bob C said this. And,
a lot of it is recountings 5, 10, 20, 30 years later.
Oh, yeah.
And those are bound to conflict from statement 1 to statement 5. A person's going to change it without intending to over time.
Absolutely. The memory is a tricky thing. Okay, back to our theories. Sue. Number 1, Sue was the target of the attack. That she was the one that wanted to kill. Some people have theorized she was bound and gagged and then forced to watch as John and Data were murdered and Tina was tied up for abduction. So whoever did this really hated Sue.
Huh.
Yeah, if this is what happened, then no doubt they explained in detail, or he explained in detail what he was going to be doing with Tina, just to make her predicament that much more horrible before murdering her. But I don't understand why he or they didn't haul the other 2 children out of the back bedroom and kill them too.
If they were strangers there, you wouldn't know that those kids were back there.
That's possible. You'd think you'd have a look around, but maybe not.
I guess, yeah.
Well, but you could say, is there anybody else home? No, all my kids are sleeping at the neighbor's house as a preventative statement to protect your children.
Yeah. I mean, but, if Sue was the target of the attack, the only person in town who seemed to have a grudge against her was Marty, right? Marty Smart.
Who would have known how many kids she had?
Who would have known that his stepson is in the other room? He would have known that. This is one of the reasons I have strong doubts. Even though everybody else thinks Marty Smart did this, I have strong doubts that he did. I mean, I really don't.
Because?
I really do think I have doubts. Well, just because he had a criminal history and a history of violence, but never anything this savage. Never anything this savage. And he would have done it, if he wanted to kill Sue, he would have found a way to maybe abduct her, take her out in the woods and kill her out there. He wouldn't do it with his stepson in the next room, you think?
Again, this assumes,
This assumes that he's like, a
this
rational
assumes a
person.
lot of logic.
It assumes a lot of that, but it also, just because Sue was the target of, I guess Sue was the target of the attack, assumes that somebody knew who Sue was, right? Okay, all right, never mind. I was going to say it assumes that that person knows Sue, but...
Well, if she's the intended target, then they have to know who she is.
Yeah, well, there's another possibility in somebody that didn't know Sue, but was just a psychopathic jerk. So we'll get to that. That's theory.
Or, somebody gave the boys a ride home and saw Sue and was like, oh, yeah, I would like some of that, thank you.
Yeah.
And then,
or more likely, I think, saw Tina and thought, hey, I want some of that. I know, it's terrible, but she was the one that was abducted, remember?
That's true.
I don't want to
think about it. No, I don't either.
But here we go.
Let's get on to another theory, which is Tina was the reason for the attack and everybody else was collateral damage. So some people have said that Bo really liked young girls. So say if it was Bo, he goes over there and he's got to deal with the mother, kill her, and then abduct the girl, and then the other 2 show up. The 2 boys show up, and so he's got to whack them.
So they walk in on.
They walk in on. He's got to whack them too.
Have you also heard about the allegations of the involvement between Marty and Tina?
Yeah, well, I heard something about there was possibly some sort of a relationship there, but
I have seen stuff that speculates that Tina was pregnant. And she's
at 12.
It's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible, or there was fear that she was pregnant. by Marty, and that he, thinking that he was going to protect his world, what he had, and not let that get out and destroy it, went after her. And of course, that meant Sue was the collateral damage. And before he could abscond with her and do whatever he intended to do with her to erase that evidence, the other two boys arrived.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time with that, except that, I mean, initially you think, well, if this guy was doing something sexual in nature with this girl, she would have told somebody, except that unfortunately it's not the first time she had been molested by an adult, so she may have just never said. This is speculation.
Lots of kids get molested and don't say anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately what the pedophiles count on. Is that they're too scared to say anything. But this is speculation. I can't say that it's true. I've seen it. It a little bit jives, but a lot of it doesn't.
Yeah, I've never seen any strong evidence that indicates to me that that's true. But the other thing about it is that if he needed to get rid of Tina and obviously get rid of the body, because an autopsy would have revealed that she was pregnant, right? So if he needed to do that, there were better ways to do it than killing a bunch of people. He could have easily just set up a meeting with her.
Yeah, especially if he was sleeping with her, right?
Yeah, he could have just sent her, called her and said, "Hey, let's get together," and then just take her out in the woods and murder her and bury her body.
I'd like to introduce Exhibit 1.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Get drunk. You make dumb decisions.
Yeah, true.
People make a lot of dumb decisions when they're, I'm just gonna fix this now, and then they don't. I'm not accusing any of this one, but if we're gonna run down that avenue, I can see how it could have played out bad. Whereas in his head, it was very simple: walk in, knock out Sue, take Tina, and get out.
Yeah.
And instead, it turns into a bloodbath.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, he lucked out, because usually when people commit really stupid, off-the-cuff crimes like that, especially multiple murders, they almost always get caught.
Yeah, he's one of the few that got away with it, if that's what it was.
I'm still not sure that Marty did this at all.
What's next?
Next theory: the three young boys in the bedroom did it.
What?
Yeah. Somebody I actually got this one off of Reddit. Somebody. Yeah.
Oh, sometimes I love Reddit.
Well, actually, the guy that put it out there said, this kind of makes sense, but really, come on, it doesn't make sense. They were too young. They had no motive.
Well, I guess, okay, so young kids do dumb things sometimes thinking they're playing, right? No. They think it's fun, but in reality...
No, there was a time when I was a kid and we were having a sleepover and we got hammers and killed a family. We didn't mean to.
You didn't mean to. It was an accident. No, I think the thing is that if you think that's fun at ages 5 through 12, you're probably going to exhibit some of those tendencies later in life too. Yeah, it sounds like these boys didn't ever do that.
No, they would all be in prison for sure. Or hopefully, at least.
Well, I mean, that's the beginning of, psychotic behavior. And you would think that there would have been a lot of missing cats and dogs and stuff like that. This is the build-up stage, not the beginning, tested out stage.
Not the kill your first human being stage.
Yeah.
Nah.
So anyway, I thought it was a fun theory, so I thought I'd put it in there.
But, fun.
Thank you for that, sir.
Yeah, it is a fun theory. Yeah, little boys murdering people.
No.
Awesome.
Yeah, another theory.
Fun and games.
Yeah, another theory is Charles Ng and Leonard Lake. Have you heard of these guys?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh, couple of vicious serial killers. They had Leonard Lake had a place in near Wilseyville, California, which is about 100 miles south of Ketty.
Okay.
And he had this, it was kind of a fairly remote cabin, and he had built himself a dungeon next to the cabin that
dudes that build dungeons.
Yeah.
Things I never want to know.
Yeah, what these guys would do is they would abduct a family or a group of people. They would usually kill the men and the babies fast, because they didn't really need them, but they keep the women around and then rape them and torture them horribly. And then eventually murder them too.
This is what's that movie, Hostel?
I don't watch movies like that.
I
so
don't either.
know.
That's why I'm asking. This makes me think of like the crap I see in the previews of movies like that.
Yeah. Anyway, but as far as it being the pair of them, yeah, if you do a little googling on these two, yeah, they had a real crime spree there. They killed a bunch of people, pretty horribly too. But you got to rule Charles Ng out because, as far as I was able to find, he was in prison until 1982.
That's just like a corrections gone wrong situation.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if somebody's already been in jail and then gets released and goes on a rape, torture, murder spree for a couple of years, I feel like something failed there.
Well, he was in military prison, so they weren't really trying to rehabilitate him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but he got out of prison in 1982. He'd been in contact with Leonard Lake already. They already knew each other, and Lake invited him to come up there and live at his cabin, and they just hang out up there and just occasionally, go out and find some innocent people to abduct and murder horribly.
Like a nice Sunday in.
But what I'm saying, Ng could not have been involved. And by the way, at this point, he was Leonard Lake, who's the guy I'm putting forth as a suspect, a remotely possible suspect, was not yet ensconced in his little remote cabin. It's possible. I'm not saying he lived in Ketty, by the way. He didn't. But who knows? Maybe he was driving through Highway 70, spots a couple of teenage boys hitchhiking, picks them up, takes them back. And because the murders that he and Charles Ng committed together were incredibly vicious. And let's face it, the Ketty murders were also incredibly vicious.
Yeah.
I have no evidence, no proof whatsoever that it was actually him. But it makes sense because Tina was the one that was abducted.
Yeah.
Now, he's mobile. He doesn't have a dungeon or anything like that. He can only take one person with him.
You take the smallest.
Yeah, you take
woman.
the smallest. You take the smallest one. So yeah,
the weakest of the bunch.
Yeah, take her, and of course he doesn't have his dungeon, so he can't. So he's got to just take her somewhere and torture her and then murder her and leave her. The other ones he killed on the spot, and that's what they would do. Again, they would kill the people that they weren't interested in raping first.
I feel like Ng and Lake are the equivalent of Devin. Last week when we talked about the McCann case, there was the random guy that lived in Spain that was listed as a suspect.
Yeah, the German.
Yeah,
whose name I can't pronounce.
Yes, because this is somebody who years later we know is a notorious bad person that was in the same general area.
Exactly.
That's my same feeling about this.
I don't know. There's precedent for it, though. I mean, oftentimes you find after a serial killer's been caught, you find, they also lived in this area where these murders that are kind of similar or not totally similar happened a couple of years before. It's that testing the waters phase.
It's that workup.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's not, but that's my initial impression.
That's fair. Yeah.
No, I think it's definitely something I have really no evidence for, but it just seems to me that, I would think Leonard Lake is as strong a suspect as Marty Smart.
Yeah.
Because Marty Smart, even though he was kind of screwed up and had an anger problem, he, as far as I can tell, he didn't show the kind of viciousness that it would have taken to commit these murders.
All you have to do is go look at the crime scene photos to kind of understand what we're talking about.
Vicious is
exactly the word.
Yes, because it not to make a joke, but it was overkill. It was absolutely over the top.
It was
what was going on.
It was it wasn't just getting the job done. It was sadistic, and Leonard Lake was sadistic.
But that's one of the things. It's a weird thing in favor of Martin not being responsible. Is that in the tapes with him from the cops? He's like, I don't understand how somebody could do that. If I had somebody to kill, I'd get in, I'd get it done, and I'd get out. I wouldn't do all this other stuff. Which, maybe that's, him leading the path to defend himself, to lead them off. But at the same time, he sounds like he's just saying, like, dude, that was so weird. Why would you do that? In a normal conversational tone, listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. The remember, only one was gagged, so it was Sue Sharp that was gagged. So,
but the boys weren't.
Well, the boys were knocked out.
Yeah, the boys got conked out pretty fast.
They did.
Yeah. But yeah, it looked like Sue was alive for a while and unconscious. And again, it's quite possible she had to witness the murders of those two boys.
Well, and there was a lot of blood on the bottom of her feet, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
somebody's blood.
The one thing, thankfully, that I was really surprised about was there was no sexual misconduct in this whole thing.
Well,
like, thankfully, rape never came into this.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
As far as they found out in any of it.
It would have been hard to tell
for the victims
with
that were left in the cabin.
That's fair.
That was not there.
Yeah.
And I was, that's one
good.
of the, that's the weird thing. Okay, well, if the boys are fine, Sue's fine, and Tina's taken, it doesn't make sense. You would think that somebody that was on a let's kill them and have a little sexual fun spree wouldn't have cared. But that's very general, very vague. I understand that before anybody lights up and has a heyday and sends me a Wikipedia article about weird perversions, I know that that's not exactly right. But it just seems like you would have seen more indications of something like that in the whole thing, which is, I mean, personally, I hope that, they took Tina away and then did her in quietly, but I don't know.
I don't understand why they would have done that.
I'm saying what I would like to hear, Joe.
That's what I would like to believe too, but yeah, I can't conceivably think of a reason why. But anyway, do you guys have any more theories?
No?
Thankfully, no.
Yeah, pretty ugly case.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Good choice, brother.
Yeah, I know. It's but it was time for us to do a hideous willful murder again. It's been a while.
True.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we're going to be able to solve this one, unfortunately, unless we go down there with our magnifying glasses.
Nah.
I think that it's entirely possible. Yeah.
The cabins are gone.
Oh, that's right. The cabin was demoed in like 2004.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
They were condemned, and they finally bulldozed them.
Yeah, and I don't think there were probably people lining up to go live in that cabin anyway.
No.
I think there was
one family did move in there afterwards.
Not very long, I don't think.
And actually, maybe they didn't know, but I mean, you see the crime scene photographs. The cabin was an armpit. It was a dump.
It was awful.
It was.
I would have to be pretty damn poor before I would live in that place.
Take your college dorm room and put wood paneling and ugly 70s carpet in it, and then 20 years of dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we're talking not wood paneling, the nice stuff, but the stuff that's made out of kind of pressed board with the laminate stuff. The ugly, nasty stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, the stuff you find in 1950s trailers.
Yeah.
The kind I grew up in.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, the place was a dump. So glad I didn't have to live there, and I'm glad I didn't live there because I'd be dead. So thank God. All right, so out of theories?
Nope, I got none.
Out theories, okay. Well, I think that's it for this week. So sorry, I apologize. I know we usually solve things, but not this week.
What?
Sorry. Yeah.
He admitted
I think according to our drinking game, that means that you have to, finish 5 beers or something.
Something.
Sorry about that.
Way to go, Joe. You're going to make some people hungover.
Yeah, I know. Well, I got to do it. I want to get people drunk. All right, so let me give you some very, very important information. First of all, you want to find our website. You'll find links about this story as well as the story itself to be downloaded. It's thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can leave comments and, of course, listen to episodes. Of course, you can also find us on iTunes, which is probably where you're finding us. So remember, subscribe. Give us a review. Give us a comment. We like that stuff. You can stream us pretty much anywhere. I mean, I don't know how many streaming services there are nowadays.
A lot.
A lot of them. So find one of those and stream us. You can find us on Facebook. You can also find us on Twitter, where we are Thinking Sideways, not thinking, but Thinking Sideways. And if you want to send us an email, you can send us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. Suggestions are great. If you just want to tell us how awesome we are, that's great. If you have constructive criticism, that's good too.
Oh, don't forget on the website there is on the right-hand panel the link for shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Because we do have
and
a couple
iPhone cases.
And iPhone cases.
Oh, that's right.
And coffee cups.
And mugs. Okay,
we got a couple of different things, but those are there's a link for Zazzle that takes you right to our store, so those are there as well.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, I need to buy my shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to buy our own shirts.
Yep.
No, I know. It's done. Zazzle wrote us an email just yesterday saying they're running out of stock. So you better buy your T-shirts and mugs soon.
Soon, yeah.
Yeah, and I better do the same.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for this week. Another mystery down. You guys have any remaining thoughts?
I really don't want to have to walk to my car right now.
Water.
Let me get my axe
facilities.
first.
We'll take some cans of food. It'll be safe.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right. So long for this week.
Bye.
Why are you giving me that weird look?
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by goats, but only the tame ones. Instead, it's supported by the generous contributions of people like you, our listeners, on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Thinking Sideways to learn more.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply. What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Well, hey there, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am Steve, of course, as always, joined by...
Devin?
And Joe.
Who looked confused.
Joe did? Or I did?
Joe did.
Yeah.
It's like he forgot his cue.
I
Yeah.
forgot my name.
Well, this week we have another mystery for you, as always. But before we get into the mystery, got a little bit of something that I wanted to share with everybody. What I wanted to go talk about was something that we're going to be doing for about the next month or so. Anybody who's listened to this podcast knows that we've been doing this for 3 years straight. And other than a couple of holidays, we really haven't ever taken any time off.
Well, and we re-record those episodes. We've put out an episode every week for 3 years.
Right. And so we're always doing research, and it's the summer, and we're a little tired, so we've decided that we're going to dial it back a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to be putting out episodes every week as normal, because we will. But for what we're going to dub the summer series, we're going to take on some of the smaller, easier mysteries for a while.
There's a ton of